My name is Evelyn, I am 32 years old, and I live in a quiet suburb just outside the city. Your kids just don't fit the vibe, Evelyn. Those 7 words didn't just hurt my feelings. They shattered the illusion of family I had been holding onto for my entire life. My sister, Sarah, was planning a birthday party for her daughter. She wanted me there. She wanted my gift, but she didn't want my children. Her own nephew and niece were being excluded from a family celebration because they weren't cool enough. I sat at my kitchen table, the phone pressed to my ear, watching my son and daughter building a tower of blocks in the living room. They loved their Aunt Sarah. They loved their cousin. They had no idea they were being rejected by their own blood. For 30 years, I was the peacemaker. I was the sister who swallowed her pride to keep the peace. But in that moment, the silence in the kitchen felt heavy. I realized I couldn't be that person anymore. I didn't know that saying no would trigger a war. I didn't know it would reveal my husband's massive secret. And I certainly didn't know it would end with my family begging for forgiveness. But before I tell you how everything flipped and subscribe, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? My name is Evelyn, I am 32 years old. I hung up the phone and stared at the blank screen. My hand was shaking. It wasn't a violent shake, just a small, steady tremor. It was the physical reaction to a lifetime of conditioning. My husband, David, walked into the kitchen. He saw my face immediately. He always saw me. That was the difference between him and my family. To my family, I was a prop. To David, I was a person. Everything okay, Evie? He asked, setting down his coffee mug. Sarah isn't inviting the kids to Emily's party, I said. My voice sounded small. I hated how small my voice sounded when I talked about my sister. David stopped. He frowned, his eyebrows pulling together. What do you mean? It's a birthday party for a child. Our kids are her cousins. She said they don't fit the vibe, I repeated. She wants an aesthetic party. Little kids are messy. She wants it to be Instagram perfect. David let out a short, dry laugh. That's ridiculous, even for Sarah. I told her I wouldn't come if they weren't invited, I said. David looked at me surprised. You did? Yes. Good, he said firmly. Good for you, Evelyn. But I didn't feel good. I felt sick. I felt that familiar knot in my stomach, the one I had carried around since I was 5 years old. This wasn't new. That was the hardest part to explain to anyone outside our family. To an outsider, Sarah just sounded like a brat. But to me, this was the law of the universe. Sarah was the sun, and the rest of us were just planets orbiting her, hoping to catch a little bit of warmth but mostly just trying not to get burned. I sat down at the table and looked at my hands. I remembered my 10th birthday. I wanted a sleepover, just 3 friends, pizza, and movies. My mother had agreed. But 2 days before my birthday, Sarah, who was 12, decided she wanted to go to a theme park. She threw a tantrum. She cried until her face was red. She told Mom that if she didn't get to go, she would run away, so my birthday sleepover was canceled. We went to the theme park instead. Sarah brought a friend. I didn't. I spent my 10th birthday holding my mother's purse while Sarah rode the roller coasters. When I complained, my mother sighed. She looked at me with those tired eyes and said, Evelyn, please, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Sarah is just sensitive, you're strong, you can handle it. That became my label, the strong one. The easy one. Being easy wasn't a compliment, it was a command. It meant, do not have needs, do not have feelings, do not take up space. It happened over and over again. When I graduated high school, my parents bought Sarah a car because she was feeling left out, that I was getting attention for my diploma. I got a handshake and a dinner at a chain restaurant. Sarah got a Honda Civic. When I got engaged to David, Sarah announced her pregnancy 3 days later. My engagement party became her baby shower planning session. Everyone crowded around her, touching her barely their bump, asking about names. I sat in the corner, eating cake, watching my own celebration disappear. And I let it happen. I always let it happen. I feel guilty, I admitted to David now. He sat down opposite me and took my hand. Why? She is excluding our children, Evelyn. Leo is 5, Mir is 3. They won't understand why they can't go. They will just know they weren't wanted. I know, I said, but Mom is going to be angry. Let her be angry, David said. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. David was a quiet man. He worked in finance or investments, as he usually called it. He was simple, kind, and incredibly smart. He rarely got involved in my family drama. He usually just supported me, rubbed my back, and let me vent. But today he looked different. He looked tired of it. It's just, I struggled to find the words. It's Emily's birthday, my niece, I love her, it's not her fault her mother is like this. And it's not Leo and Mia's fault either, David countered. Sarah is teaching Emily that people are disposable if they don't fit the vibe. Do you want to support that lesson? I shook my head. No. Then you stick to your guns, he said. We do our own thing that day. We take the kids out. We make it a special day for them. I looked at him, grateful. You're right. But inside, the fear was rising. I knew my phone was going to ring again. I knew my mother wasn't going to let this go. In my family, Sarah's happiness was the only metric that mattered. If Sarah was unhappy, the whole house shook. And right now, by saying no, I was making Sarah unhappy. I walked into the living room. Leo was building a tower with his blocks. Mia was trying to knock it down. They were laughing. They were loud. They were sticky. They were perfect. Sarah saw them as props that would ruin her photo opportunity. I saw them as the most important people in the world. I remembered when I told my mother I was pregnant with Leo. She had smiled, but her eyes drifted to Sarah. Oh, Sarah is going to have a hard time with this, she had said. She's been trying for a second baby for months. Even my joy was measured against Sarah's pain. I picked up a block and added it to the tower. Leo cheered. Mommy, are we going to see Emily soon? Leo asked. I made her a card. My heart cracked. He had drawn a picture of a dinosaur eating a cake. It was for Emily. He loved his cousin. Not this weekend, buddy, I said, forcing a smile. But we're going to do something super fun instead. Why? He asked. Is Emily sick? I couldn't tell him the truth. I couldn't tell him, no, Emily is fine, but your Aunt Sarah thinks you aren't fancy enough for her living room. No, she's busy, I lied. Plans changed. He shrugged and went back to his blocks. He was resilient. He was easy, just like I was. And that scared me more than anything. I didn't want him to be the easy one. I didn't want him to learn that his feelings didn't matter. That thought hardened something inside me. For 30 years, I had laid down so Sarah could walk over me. I had given up my birthdays, my graduation spotlight, and my engagement happiness. I had done it to keep the peace. I had done it because I loved my mother and I wanted her approval. But this wasn't about me anymore. This was about Leo and Mia. If I taught them that it was okay for family to treat them like second-class citizens, they would believe it. They would grow up just like me, apologizing for existing. I stood up. I went back to the kitchen. David was watching me. I'm not going, I said again, firmer this time, and I'm not sending a gift. David smiled. It was a proud smile. That's my girl. Then the phone rang. The screen lit up. Mom. I looked at David. He nodded. Answer it, but remember, you are a mother first, a daughter second. I took a deep breath and swiped answer. Hello, Evelyn, my mother's voice was tight. Sarah is crying. What did you say to her? Here we go. The cycle was starting again. But this time, I had too little reasons to break it. I didn't say anything hurtful, Mom, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I just told her that if my children aren't welcome, then I'm not coming either. My mother sighed. It was a long, dramatic exhale that I could practically see through the phone. Evelyn, don't be dramatic. You know how Sarah gets. She has a vision for this party. It's elegant. It's for adults and the older cousins. Leo and Mia are. Well, they are high energy. They are 5 and 3, I said. They are children. It's a birthday party for a 6-year-old, since when are birthday parties elegant? It's what she wants, Mom said, her voice sharpening. Why can't you just support your sister? She's been so stressed lately. Mark has been working late. She's trying to manage the house. She just wanted one perfect day. And now you're making it about you. There it was, the twist. I was making it about me. By refusing to let my children be excluded, I was the selfish one. I'm not making it about me, I said. I'm protecting my kids. How do you think I explain to them that they aren't invited to their cousin's house? Grandma is going. Auntie June is going. Everyone is going except them. Just tell them it's a grown-up party, Mom said dismissively. Get a babysitter, come for a few hours. Bring the gift. Don't cause a scene, Evelyn, please, for me. For you, I asked. What about for me? What about for my kids? You're being difficult, she snapped. Always so sensitive. Look, Sarah is really upset. She thinks you don't love Emily. Do you want your niece to think you don't love her? That is emotional blackmail, I said. I had never used those words with my mother before. There was a silence on the other end. Then, I don't know who you've been talking to, or if David is putting ideas in your head, but this isn't you, Evelyn. You're usually so sweet. Just apologize to Sarah, tell her you'll come alone, and let's move past this. No, I said. Excuse me, No, I repeated. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I won't apologize and I won't come. We are going to the aquarium that day. You would choose fish over your family, Mom asked, her voice dripping with guilt. I am choosing my family, I said. My husband and my children. If we aren't good enough as a whole unit, then we aren't coming in pieces. I hung up. I stood there, panting slightly, as if I had just run a mile. I had never hung up on my mother in my life. The fallout was immediate. 10 minutes later, my phone pinged. A text from Sarah. Thanks for ruining everything. I hope you're happy. Emily is crying because her aunt hates her. Another text, this time from my Aunt Linda. Evelyn, honey, just heard about the mix-up. Just get a sitter. It's not a big deal. Family is family. They were swarming. It was a coordinated attack. Sarah had called Mom had called the aunts, and now I was the target. I showed the messages to David. He read them, his face expressionless. Don't reply, he said. Block them if you have to. Not forever, just for the weekend. I can't block my mother, I whispered. Then mute her, he said. Evelyn, look at what they are doing. They don't care about Leo and Mia. They care that the boat is rocking. You stopped rowing and they are panicking. He was right. That night dinner was quiet. I felt heavy. The guilt was a physical weight on my shoulders. I kept hearing my mother's voice. You're being difficult. You're being dramatic. Was I? Was I being unreasonable? Maybe a kid-free party wasn't a crime. Maybe I should just suck it up, hire a sitter, and go smile for 3 hours. It would be easier. It would stop the texts. It would make my mother happy. I looked at Leo across the table. He was trying to balance a pea on his fork. He looked up and grinned at me, sauce on his chin. Mommy, you look sad, he said. I'm okay, baby, I said. If you're sad, I can give you a hug, he offered. I looked at his sweet, innocent face. Sarah had called him not the vibe. My mother had called him high energy as if it was a disease. If I went to that party, I was agreeing with them. I was silently signing a contract that said, yes, my children are less than. Yes, Sarah's comfort is more important than their dignity. I couldn't do it. The pressure continued for 3 days. My dad called once. He rarely called. Evie, he said, his voice gruff. Just go to the party. Your mother is driving me crazy with this, just fix it. I can't, Dad, I said. Sarah excluded the kids. So, it's a party, who cares, just go. Stop making trouble. He didn't care about the principal. He just wanted the noise to stop. He wanted me to be the sponge that soaked up all the family dysfunction so he could watch TV in peace. I'm sorry, Dad, I said. Not this time. By Friday night, the day before the party, the texts had stopped. The silence was worse than the yelling. It felt ominous. I knew they were talking about me. I knew the narrative they were spinning. Evelyn the jealous sister. Evelyn the drama queen. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Did I make a mistake? I asked David in the dark. He rolled over and pulled me close. No, you stood up for yourself. It feels bad because you've never done it before. Muscles hurt when you use them for the first time. I feel like I lost them, I said. If you lost them because you demanded respect, David said, kissing my forehead, then you never really had them. I tried to sleep, but my dreams were full of Sarah laughing and pointing at me while I stood outside a glass door, banging to get in. Saturday morning arrived. The sky was bright blue. It was a perfect day for a party. I pushed that thought away. Pancakes, I announced, walking into the kitchen. Leo and Mia cheered. We made chocolate chip pancakes. We put on music. I danced around the kitchen, forcing myself to be happy. I needed to fill the space with enough joy that there was no room for the sadness of exclusion. Where are we going today? David asked, playing along. The aquarium, the kids screamed. We packed the car. Snacks, juice boxes, the stroller. It was a normal family Saturday. The drive to the city took 40 minutes. We sang along to Disney songs. David held my hand across the center console. He gave it a squeeze every few miles, a silent reminder. We are okay. We are enough. The aquarium was magical. It was dark and cool, lit by the glowing blue tanks. Mia pressed her face and hands against the glass, her eyes wide as a shark glided past. Look at his teeth, she whispered. Leo was fascinated by the jellyfish. They look like ghosts, he said. For 2 hours, I forgot about Sarah. I forgot about the aesthetic garden party happening 20 miles away. I forgot about the champagne I wasn't drinking and the polite conversation I wasn't having. I was just a mom, watching my kids learn about the ocean. I felt light, I felt free. We stopped for lunch at the cafeteria. I bought the kids pizza and juice. We sat at a table by a window overlooking the harbor. My phone was in my bag. I had kept it there all morning. I'm going to take a picture of them, I said to David. They look so cute with their pizza faces. I pulled out my phone. There was a notification on the screen, a FaceTime request from Mom, and a text. Just wanted to say hi to the grandkids. I hesitated. Maybe she was reaching out. Maybe she felt bad. Maybe she wanted to see them because she missed them at the party. It was a trap. I knew it was a trap. But hope is a stupid, stubborn thing. I wanted to believe my mother loved us. It's Grandma, I said. Don't answer it, David said quickly. She says she wants to say hi, I said. Maybe she realized she was wrong. I swiped the green button before David could stop me. My mother's face filled the screen. She was wearing a big hat. The sun was shining behind her. I could hear music and laughter in the background. Hi, Mom, I said. Hello, she chirped. She sounded fake happy. Where are you? We are having such a lovely time. Everyone is asking for you. She flipped the camera. I saw the party. It was beautiful. White balloons, long tables with linen tablecloths, flowers everywhere. People were mingling, holding glasses. Then she focused on Sarah. Sarah was kneeling on the grass, helping Emily open a mountain of gifts. Emily was wearing a white lace dress that looked like a wedding gown. Look who it is, Mom yelled. She shoved the phone toward Emily. Emily, say hi to Aunt Evelyn and the cousins. Emily looked at the phone, distracted. Hi, she said, then turned back to her gifts. Mom, why are you calling me right now? I asked, feeling a cold dread settle in my stomach. Leo and Mia heard the voices. They scrambled over to me. Is that Grandma? Leo asked. Let me see. He climbed onto my lap. Mia squeezed in next to him. Hi, Grandma, they yelled. Oh, hello, my darlings, Mom cooed. Then she did the cruelest thing imaginable. She didn't do it by accident. She did it with a smile. Look at Emily's big party, Mom said, panning the camera around again to show the bounce house, an all-white bounce house that was apparently aesthetic enough for Sarah. Look at the cake, it's 3 tiers. Isn't it wonderful? We miss you so much. Leo went still. He looked at the screen. He saw the balloons. He saw the cake. He saw the bounce house. He saw his other cousins running around in the background. Is that Emily's birthday? Leo asked. His voice was trembling. Yes, Mom said cheerfully. It's her big day. Why aren't we there? Leo asked. Tears pooled in his eyes instantly. You said she was busy. My mother's face reappeared on the screen. She feigned shock. Oh dear, Evelyn, didn't you explain to them? She was putting it on me. She was making me the villain in front of my children. Mom, stop, I snapped. Does Aunt Sarah not like us? Mia asked, her little lip quivering. That was the dagger. It went straight into my heart. Of course she likes you, Mom said, her voice high and fake. Mommy just decided to take you somewhere else today. It was Mommy's choice. I hung up. I didn't say goodbye. I just stabbed the red button, but the damage was done. Leo burst into tears. You lied, he screamed at me. Everyone is there. Why can't we go? I want to go to the bounce house. Mia started crying because Leo was crying. I want cake, she wailed. People in the cafeteria were staring. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My mother had weaponized a FaceTime call. She wanted me to feel the pain of missing out, but she didn't care that she had to break my children's hearts to do it. She wanted to prove a point. See, you should have just obeyed. David stood up. His face was a mask of cold fury. I had never seen him look like that. He came around the table and scooped up Mia. He put a hand on Leo's shoulder. It's okay, buddy, David said. His voice was low and steady. It's okay, it's not okay, Leo cried. They didn't invite us. I sat there frozen, the phone clutching in my hand like a grenade. I looked at my husband. She did that on purpose, I whispered. I know, David said. We left the aquarium. The drive home was awful. The kids cried for 20 minutes, then fell into an exhausted, sobbing sleep. The car was silent except for the hum of the tires on the highway. I stared out the window, tears streaming down my own face. I felt humiliated. I felt like a failure. I hadn't protected them. I had let the toxicity in via a 6-inch screen. I looked at David. He was gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles were white. He was staring straight ahead, his jaw clenched tight. I'm sorry, I said to him. Don't you dare apologize, he said. Do not apologize for them. We got home. We carried the sleeping kids inside. I wiped their tear-stained faces and tucked them into their beds, even though it was only 4 p.m. I walked into the kitchen. David was standing by the counter. He had his phone in his hand. He was scrolling through something. David, I asked. He looked up. His eyes were cold, not at me but at the world. That was the line, he said. What? They hurt the kids, he said. I can handle them treating you like a doormat because you let them. I hate it, but it's your choice. But today, they targeted the kids. They made Leo cry. They made Mia feel unwanted. He put his phone down on the counter with a heavy clack. I'm done being passive, Evelyn. The house was quiet, but it was a heavy silence. The kind of silence that comes before a storm. David went into his home office. He closed the door. He never closed the door. I made myself a cup of tea, but I didn't drink it. I sat on the couch, replaying the FaceTime call in my head. It was Mommy's choice. The way she shifted the blame. The way she enjoyed showing off the party we were excluded from. An hour passed, the office door opened. David walked out. He looked different. He wasn't wearing his dad clothes, the soft t-shirt and jeans. He had changed into a crisp white button-down shirt. He looked like the man he was at work. Professional, dangerous. Evelyn, come here, he said. I followed him into the office. He sat behind his desk and motioned for me to sit in the chair opposite him. I need to tell you something, he said. Something I haven't really discussed with you in detail because I didn't think it mattered to our daily life, and because I didn't want your family knowing. What is it? I asked, suddenly nervous. Was he leaving me? Was this too much drama for him? You know I work in private equity, he started. Yes, you do investments. It's a bit more than that, he said. My firm, the one I founded before we met. We are the majority shareholder of the Centennial Group. I blinked. Centennial Group, like, the massive development company, the ones building the new skyline downtown. Yes, David said. I own 60% of it. I'm the silent partner. My name isn't on the billboards, but I have the final say on every major acquisition and contract. I stared at him. I knew we were comfortable. We had a nice house, good cars. But I thought he was just a successful manager. I didn't know he owned the company. Okay, I said slowly. Why are you telling me this now? Do you know who Mark works for? David asked. Mark was Sarah's husband. He was an architect. He was arrogant, loud, and loved to brag about his big deals. He works for Miller and Associates, I said. Correct, David said. And do you know what Miller and Associates has been trying to do for the last 6 months? I shook my head. They are trying to bid for the contract to design the new Centennial headquarters, David said. It is a $50 million contract. It would make Mark's career. It would make him a partner at his firm. My mouth fell open. Mark talks about that deal all the time. He says it's in the bag. It was, David said. My team recommended them. The paperwork is sitting on my desk right now, waiting for the final digital signature. He turned his computer monitor so I could see it. There was a document open. It was a contract. The names Miller and Associates and Centennial Group were at the top. Mark has been bragging about this for months, David said. He's been spending money he hasn't earned yet. That's probably how they paid for that party today. David looked at me. His eyes were intense. Evelyn, Mark stood by while his wife excluded our children. He enjoyed the food and the drinks while our son cried. He is part of that family unit. He benefits from their cruelty. David reached for his mouse. What are you doing? I whispered. I'm killing the deal, David said. David, you can't, I stammered. That's millions of dollars. That's Mark's job. Sarah will kill me. They tried to kill your spirit, David said. They hurt my children. And I am a businessman, Evelyn. I do not do business with people who lack integrity. If a man cannot stand up to his wife to protect innocent children, he cannot be trusted with a $50 million project. But, is it legal? I asked. Can you just stop it? I can do whatever I want, David said calmly. It's my money, and I have a clause. Character concerns. It's a standard clause, usually used for criminal records or fraud. But today, it's being used for bad parenting. He hovered the mouse over a red button on his screen that said reject. Are you sure? I asked. This will start a war, a real war. They started the war, David said. I'm just finishing it. He clicked the button. Status, rejected, notification sent. David leaned back in his chair. He looked peaceful. It's done, he said. What happens now? I asked. Now, David said, checking his watch. Mark gets an email. In about 5 minutes, his boss gets an email. And in about 10 minutes, Mark is going to be pulled away from that bounce house to answer a very difficult phone call. He stood up and walked over to me. He pulled me up from the chair and hugged me. I promised to protect this family, he whispered into my hair. I'm keeping my promise. My phone started buzzing. I looked down. It wasn't Mark. It wasn't Sarah. It was a text from Mark. What the hell did David do? Then another, pick up the phone. Then Sarah called. David took my phone from my hand. He looked at the screen, then looked at me. "Do you want to talk to them?" he asked. I thought about Leo crying in the cafeteria. I thought about "It's not the vibe." I thought about my mother's fake smile. "No," I said, "I don't." David set the phone down on the desk, screen down. "Then let it ring," he said. We walked out of the office and closed the door, leaving the phone buzzing angrily against the wood. We went upstairs to check on our sleeping children. For the first time all day, the silence in the house didn't feel heavy. It felt like justice. The buzzing of the phone in the office finally stopped, but the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was filled with a strange, vibrating energy. It felt like the air before a thunderstorm breaks. I stood in the hallway, listening. I could hear David talking inside the office. His voice was different than the one he used with me or the kids. It was deeper, flatter. It was a voice that didn't ask for permission. It gave orders. I opened the door a crack. I needed to hear this. I needed to understand the magnitude of what my husband had just done. David was on speakerphone. "Yes, Tom," David said. "I sent the rejection notice. The deal with Miller and Associates is dead." A tinny voice replied from the speaker. "David, are you sure? We've been vetting them for months. Their proposal was solid. The board is going to ask questions. It's a $50 million project." "I know the numbers, Tom," David replied. He was leaning back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. He looked completely relaxed, which terrified me. "The numbers are fine. The leadership is the problem." "What do you mean?" "I have personal knowledge regarding the senior architect on the bid, Mark Stevens," David said. "There is a significant misalignment of values. I don't trust his judgment under pressure. If a man cannot manage his own household with integrity, he cannot manage a skyscraper." There was a pause on the line. Then, understood. "Is this negotiable?" "No," David said. "Terminate the negotiations immediately. Send the official notice to their firm's partners. Cite concerns regarding ethical alignment and character. That usually stops people from asking too many questions." "All right. I'll handle it. Miller and Associates is going to flip out. They banked their quarter on this." "That's their problem," David said. "Thanks, Tom." He hung up. He spun his chair around and saw me standing in the doorway. He didn't look guilty, he looked focused. "You heard?" he asked. "I heard," I said. I walked into the room and sat on the edge of the desk. "You just cost Mark his promotion. Maybe his job." "Mark cost Mark his job," David corrected me. "Evelyn, listen to me. This isn't just about a birthday party. It's about a pattern. Mark and Sarah have treated us like second-class citizens for years. They take your kindness for weakness. They think because I'm quiet, I'm stupid. They think because you're nice, you're a doormat." He stood up and paced the room. "When you have power, you have a choice," he said. "You can use it to bully people, like Sarah does, or you can use it to protect people. Today, I used it to protect Leo and Mia. I sent a message, we are not powerless." My phone started buzzing again. I looked at it. It was my mother, then a text from Sarah, then a call from Mark. It was a barrage. "They know," I whispered. "The email must have hit." "Good," David said. "They are going to blame me," I said. "They always blame me." "Let them," David said. "Let them scream. For the first time in your life, Evelyn, you don't have to fix it, you just have to watch." He was right. But it was hard. My stomach was twisting into knots. I had been trained since birth to be the fixer. If Sarah cried, I comforted her. If Mom was stressed, I helped her. Now I was the cause of the stress. I picked up my phone. "Don't," David warned. "I have to answer one," I said. "If I don't, they'll come here. They'll come to the house. I don't want them pounding on the door and waking the kids." I took a deep breath. I answered Mark's call. "Hello? What the hell is going on, Evelyn?" Mark screamed. His voice was so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. I could hear chaos in the background. Music, but it was jarring now. People talking loudly. "Mark, lower your voice," I said calmly. "Don't tell me what to do," he yelled. "I just got an email from the Centennial Group. They pulled the contract. They killed the deal. My boss is freaking out. He's asking me what character concerns means. He's asking if I embezzled money." "I don't know anything about your work, Mark," I lied. It was a weak lie. "Bull," Mark screamed. "David, I know David does something in finance. I saw his name on the board list years ago, but I thought he was just a consultant. Is he involved in this? Did he do this?" I looked at David. He nodded. He wanted them to know. "David is the majority shareholder, Mark," I said. My voice was trembling, but I got the words out. Silence. Absolute stunned silence. "What?" Mark whispered. "David owns the company," I said. Or well, most of it. You're lying, Mark said, but his voice lacked conviction. He was doing the math in his head, the nice house, the fact that David never talked about money, the quiet confidence. He killed the deal because of the party, Mark asked. He sounded like he was going to throw up. He killed the deal because you and Sarah decided my children weren't good enough to be in your presence, I said. David decided that if our children aren't good enough for your party, then your business isn't good enough for his company. Are you insane? Mark shrieked. This is business. This is millions of dollars. You don't mix family drama with business. You made it personal, Mark, I said. You made my son cry today. You stood by while Sarah excluded a 5-year-old. You think actions don't have consequences. Well, this is the consequence. Fix this, Mark begged. He was panicking now. Evelyn, please, put David on. Tell him it was a mistake. Tell him Sarah didn't mean it. My boss is looking at me right now. He's going to fire me. I can't fix it, Mark, I said. David made a decision, and unlike you, he stands by his decisions. Evelyn, he screamed. I hung up. I looked at David. My hands were ice cold. He's terrified, I said. He should be, David said. He spent money he didn't have on a lifestyle he couldn't afford, banking on a deal he hadn't closed, while treating the people who held the keys like garbage. We went downstairs. The sun was setting. The house was golden and quiet. It was such a contrast to the chaos I knew was happening at Sarah's house. I imagined the scene. The white bounce house sitting empty, the expensive catering growing cold. Sarah crying, mascara running down her face. Mark yelling into his phone. My mother trying to spin the narrative. For the first time, I didn't feel the urge to run over there and bake a cake to make it better. I felt powerful. I looked at my children sleeping on the baby monitor screen. They were safe. They were loved. And their father had just moved mountains to defend their honor. Thank you, I said to David. Don't thank me, he said. We are just getting started. The backlash is coming. David was right. The backlash wasn't a wave, it was a tsunami. By Sunday morning, I had 30 missed calls. My voicemails were full. The family group chat, which I usually kept muted, was exploding. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee. I felt like I had a hangover, even though I hadn't touched a drop of alcohol. Ready? David asked. He was making eggs. He seemed energized. No, I said. Read them, he said. You need to see who they really are. I opened the group chat. Aunt Linda, Evelyn, I can't believe you would do this. Destroying Sarah's livelihood over a birthday invite. That is pure evil. Cousin Mike, that's cold, Evie. Mark works hard. You don't mess with a man's money. Mom, Evelyn, answer your phone. Now, you are tearing this family apart. Sarah is hysterical. Mark left the house last night and hasn't come back. You have to fix this. Call David off. Sarah, I hate you. I have always hated you. You're just jealous because my life is better than yours, so you had to ruin it. I hope you rot. I read Sarah's text out loud. I hate you. I have always hated you. I put the phone down. Tears pricked my eyes. She finally said it. She's said it for years, Evelyn, David said gently. She just used actions instead of words. Now she's using words. They all think I'm the villain, I said. Look at them. They are defending Mark. They don't care that he was going to get that contract because of us in the first place. They just care that we took it away. They are defending the status quo, David said. They are mad because the hierarchy has flipped. You were at the bottom, now you are at the top. It scares them. The doorbell rang. It wasn't a polite ring. It was a pounding. I froze. It's them. I'll get it, David said. No, I said. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but my heart was pounding with a strange new rhythm. I'll get it, it's my mother. I walked to the front door. I could see the outline of my mother through the frosted glass. She was pacing. I opened the door. My mother stood there. She looked wrecked. Her eyes were puffy. She was still wearing the same clothes from the party yesterday, which was shocking. My mother never looked unkempt. Evelyn, she cried. She pushed past me into the hallway. How could you let David do this? Hello, Mom, I said. Would you like to come in? Don't play games with me, she snapped. She spun around to face me. Do you have any idea what you've done? Mark is going to lose his job. They have a mortgage. They have car payments. You are bankrupting your sister. I didn't do anything, I said. David made a business decision. David is your husband, she yelled. You control him. You told him to do this out of spite because you were mad about the party. I didn't tell him to do anything, I said. David saw how you treated Leo and Mia. He decided he didn't want to do business with people who treat children like that. Oh, stop it with the children. Mom waved her hand dismissively. It was one afternoon, one party. You are destroying their entire lives over a few hours of hurt feelings. It's disproportionate, Evelyn, it's cruel. Is it? I asked. I felt a sudden surge of anger. Mom, for 30 years you have told me to swallow my hurt feelings. You told me my pain didn't matter as long as Sarah was happy. You told me to be the bigger person. Well, guess what? David is the bigger person. He's the biggest person in the room, and he decided that disrespect has a price. You are being vindictive, she spat. You are enjoying this. I'm not enjoying it, I said. I'm sad. I'm sad that it took a $50 million loss for you to even look at me. You didn't come over here yesterday when Leah was crying. You didn't call to apologize when you mocked us on FaceTime. You only came here because the money stopped. My mother froze. Her face went pale. That's not true, she stammered. It is true, I said. You are here for the money. You are here to save Sarah's lifestyle. You aren't here for me. You aren't here for your grandkids. I am your mother, she shouted. I demand you fix this. Go tell David to call his people and give Mark the contract back. Right now. David walked into the hallway. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. No, David said. Mom jumped. She hadn't seen him. David, she said, her voice changing instantly to a pleading tone. David, please, let's be reasonable. This is family. That's exactly the problem, Janet, David said. You treat Evelyn like an employee you can abuse. You treat our kids like accessories you can discard. That's not family. That's a toxic clique. And I'm not funding it anymore. I'll fix it, Mom begged. I'll talk to Sarah, she'll apologize, she'll invite the kids over. We'll do a redo party. Just please don't ruin them. An apology given under duress isn't an apology, David said. It's a negotiation tactic. So that's it? Mom asked, tears streaming down her face. You're just going to let them sink. Mark is a grown man, David said. He has an architecture degree. He can find another job. Maybe a smaller firm, maybe a smaller house. They won't starve, but they won't be rich off my back. Mom looked at me. She looked for the weakness she had exploited for decades. She looked for the easy Evelyn. Evelyn, she whispered, please. For me, I looked at her. I saw the manipulation. I saw the favoritism. And finally, I saw that it had nothing to do with me. I could never be good enough for her because she needed me to be the failure so Sarah could be the star. No, Mom, I said. You told 2 children they weren't important. This is simply the consequence. Mom stared at me for a long moment. Then the mask fell. Her face twisted into a sneer. You are a selfish, bitter girl, she hissed. I hope you're happy alone. I'm not alone, I said, stepping next to David. I have my family. She turned and slammed the door behind her. The sound echoed through the house. I let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding since childhood. Are you okay? David asked. No, I said honestly. That hurt, but it hurt less than it used to. That's progress, David said. We went back to the kitchen. The kids were awake now, coming down the stairs in their pajamas. Who was at the door? Leo asked, rubbing his eyes. Just Grandma, I said. She had to leave. Did she bring cake? Mia asked. No, baby, I said, picking her up. But I'll make you waffles. Yay, waffles. They were happy. They were oblivious. They didn't know their grandmother had just disowned their mother in the hallway, and I was going to make sure they never felt that sting. The day passed. We stayed home. We played in the yard. We turned off our phones, but I knew it wasn't over. Sarah hadn't appeared yet, and Sarah never went down without a fight. It was Tuesday evening when Sarah finally came. 2 days of silence. 2 days of Mark presumably scrambling at work. 2 days of the reality sinking in. It was raining. A slow, gray drizzle that matched my mood. I was in the living room folding laundry. David was still at work, but he was on his way home. I saw a car pull into the driveway. It wasn't Mark's flashy SUV. It was Sarah's car. I watched through the window. She sat in the car for a long time. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just sitting there. Finally, the door opened. Sarah stepped out. She wasn't wearing her usual perfect outfit, the beige trench coat, the designer boots. She was wearing a gray sweatsuit. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She looked small. She walked to the door. She didn't pound. She knocked. 3 soft taps. I opened the door. She looked up at me. Her eyes were red-rimmed. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in 48 hours. Can I come in? She asked. Her voice was raspy. Where is Mom? I asked. I wasn't going to be ambushed again. She's at home, Sarah said. She doesn't know I'm here. Mark doesn't know either. I stepped back and let her in. She walked into the hallway and stood there, dripping wet. She looked around my house as if she'd never seen it before. I need to talk to you, she said. Okay, I said. Talk, Mark was fired today, she said. The words hung in the air. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. And I didn't want them to starve, I just wanted them to stop hurting us. Miller and Associates let him go. They said he was a liability because of the email. She looked at me. David really did it. Yes, I said. I didn't think he had it in him, Sarah said with a bitter laugh. I thought he was just your nice, boring husband. He's a good man, I said, and he protects his family. Sarah flinched. She looked down at her feet. I know why he did it, she said quietly. It wasn't about the contract. It was about the party. It was about the disrespect, Sarah, I said. You excluded my children, you told me they didn't fit the vibe. You made them feel like garbage. Sarah closed her eyes, tears squeezed out. It wasn't Emily, she whispered. What? Emily didn't care, Sarah admitted. She asked where Leo and Mia were. She asked me 3 times. I told her they were sick. I felt a surge of rage. You lied to your daughter. I wanted it to be perfect, Sarah sobbed. I wanted the photos to look like the magazines. I wanted everyone to look at me and think I had the perfect life. He's loud. He spills things, Mia cries. I didn't want the mess. I just wanted one day where I was the queen and everything was beautiful. So you sacrificed my kids for an Instagram photo? I asked. Yes, she whispered. I'm jealous, Evelyn, okay. Is that what you want to hear? She looked up at me, her face streaked with tears. You have David. He loves you so much. He looks at you like you're magic. Mark looks at his phone. Mark looks at his reflection. He barely looks at me. I wanted the party to be perfect because my marriage isn't. My life isn't. I wanted to win at something. I stared at her, my big sister, the golden child, the one who had everything. She was empty. She was so empty she had to push down a 5-year-old to feel tall. I'm sorry, she said. I'm really, really sorry. Not about the money. I mean, I am scared about the money. But I'm sorry I hurt Leo and Mia. I shouldn't have done that. It sounded genuine. It was the first time in 30 years she had ever apologized to me without a but at the end. I appreciate that, I said. But you aren't the one who needs to hear it. I know, she said. Just then Leo ran into the room. He was holding a toy truck. Mommy, who is? He stopped when he saw Sarah. He took a step back. He looked wary. Hi, Leo, Sarah said. She wiped her face. She knelt down on the floor so she was eye level with him. She didn't care that her wet knees were on the rug. Hi, Aunt Sarah, Leo said. He didn't run to her. He held his truck tight against his chest. Leo, Sarah said, her voice shaking. I wanted to tell you something. I made a mistake on Saturday. Leo watched her. I should have invited you to the party, she said. It wasn't because you aren't cool. You are the coolest kid I know. It was because Aunt Sarah was being silly and selfish. I missed you there. Emily missed you there. Leo processed this. So you do like us. I love you, Sarah said. I love you so much, and I am so sorry I made you sad. Leo looked at me. I nodded. Leo stepped forward. He was a forgiving soul. He was better than all of us. He put a hand on Sarah's shoulder. It's okay, Aunt Sarah, he said. Everyone makes mistakes. But next time can I come to the bounce house? Sarah burst into a fresh wave of sobbing. She pulled him into a hug. Yes, you can come to the bounce house. I watched them. I felt the ice in my chest melting a little. But then the front door opened. David walked in. He stopped. He saw Sarah on the floor hugging Leo. He saw me standing there. He put his briefcase down. Sarah stood up. She looked terrified of him. David, she said. I apologized to Evelyn and to Leo. I heard, David said. His face was unreadable. I know I messed up, she said. I know I was cruel. I'm sorry. Mark is sorry. We lost everything, David. Please, is there any way? Can you fix it? She looked at him with desperate hope. She thought the apology was the currency to buy back the contract. She thought the scene with Leo was the transaction fee. I looked at David. I wondered what he would do. David looked at Sarah. He didn't look angry anymore. He looked tired but resolute. I'm glad you apologized, Sarah, David said. I'm glad you told Leo the truth. That matters. It matters a lot for this family. Sarah nodded eagerly. It does. We want to be a family. We want to move past this. So, can you call Miller and Associates? Can you tell them it was a misunderstanding? The room went quiet. The sound of the rain against the window seemed to get louder. No, David said. Sarah's face fell. What? I can't do that, David said. The deal is dead, Sarah. I didn't cancel it to punish you. I canceled it because Mark and his firm are not the right partners for my company. That hasn't changed because you came here and cried. But I apologized. Sarah cried. I did what you wanted. You apologized because you got caught, David said calmly. And you apologized because you want the money back. That's not how trust works. Trust takes years to build and seconds to break. You broke it on Saturday, you can't glue it back together on Tuesday. Mark lost his job, Sarah screamed. The soft, apologetic sister was gone. The angry, entitled Sarah was back. We are going to lose our house. Then you will move, David said. You will downsize. You will live a life you can actually afford. It might be the best thing that ever happens to you. How can you be so cruel? She demanded. Evelyn. Tell him, she turned to me. She expected me to crack. She expected me to save her. I looked at her. I saw the panic, but I also saw the entitlement. She still believed she was owed a bailout. David is right, I said softly. Sarah gasped. What? You apologized and I forgive you, I said. I really do. I don't want to carry this anger anymore. But forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences. You guys made choices. Mark bragged about a deal he didn't have. You spent money you didn't earn. You treated us like dirt because you thought you didn't need us. Now you know you need us, but that doesn't mean you get to use us. I'm not using you. You are, I said. If David was a plumber, you wouldn't be here. You're here for the check. Sarah stared at us. She realized, finally, that the dynamic had shifted permanently. The bank of Evelyn and David was closed. The emotional punching bag was gone. You're ruining my life, she whispered. No, David said. We are just refusing to pay for it anymore. Sarah wiped her face. She looked at Leo, who was watching from the stairs, looking confused again. Goodbye, Evelyn, she said. She walked out the door. She didn't slam it. She just closed it with a soft click. I looked at David. Was that too hard? I asked. It was necessary, he said. If I gave it back now, they would learn nothing. They would think they can abuse us, say sorry, and get paid. Mark will find a job, they will survive, but they will never look down on us again. He was right. The news spread through the family. Mark didn't get his job back. Miller and Associates lost the contract. Another firm got it. Sarah and Mark had to sell their house. It was a humiliating downsizing, according to my mother. They moved into a townhouse 3 towns over. It was a nice house, perfectly adequate, but it wasn't a mansion. The family was furious for a while. Cousins stopped liking my posts on Facebook. My dad grumbled about airing dirty laundry. But something else happened. When we showed up for Thanksgiving that year, nobody made a snide comment about my clothes. Nobody interrupted me when I spoke. When David walked into the room, Mark stood up and shook his hand. It was awkward, yes. It was tense. But it was respectful. They tiptoed. They were careful. They had learned the lesson. Evelyn wasn't the easy one anymore. Evelyn was the one with the husband who could level a skyscraper with a phone call. And Evelyn was the one who finally respected herself enough to let him do it. 6 months later. It was a Sunday afternoon. We were in our backyard. The weather was perfect. Crisp autumn air, golden leaves falling from the trees. Leo and Mia were raking leaves into a giant pile. Well, mostly they were jumping into the pile and scattering them again. They were laughing, screaming with joy. I sat on the patio with a cup of tea. David was reading a book next to me. My phone buzzed. I looked at it, a text from Sarah. Hey, we are taking Emily to the pumpkin patch today. Do you guys want to come? The kids can run around together. I stared at the screen. It was a simple invite. No aesthetic requirements. No vibe check, just a pumpkin patch, muddy boots and hayrides. I looked at David. Sarah invited us to the pumpkin patch. David looked up over his glasses. Do you want to go? I thought about it. Things were still fragile. We weren't best friends. We probably never would be. The scar was there. I knew she was capable of cruelty, and she knew I was capable of cutting her off. But she was trying. She was trying on my terms. I think the kids would like it, I said. Then we should go, David said. I replied, sure, we'll meet you there in an hour. Great, Sarah replied. Emily is excited. I put the phone down. I looked at my life. It wasn't perfect. My relationship with my mother was still distant. We talked about the weather and recipes, nothing deep. She knew the boundaries now. She knew she couldn't gaslight me anymore because I wouldn't accept it. I had lost the illusion of the perfect, happy family. But I had gained something better. I had gained reality. I watched Leo jump into the leaves. He was 6 now. He was confident. He knew he mattered. I remembered the lesson I learned that day in the kitchen, when the phone rang and I almost caved. I remembered the fear of saying no. It turned out that no was the most powerful word in the English language. No to disrespect. No to exclusion. No to being small. I reached over and took David's hand. His grip was warm and solid. Thank you, I said. For what? He asked. For teaching me that boundaries aren't punishments, I said. They're protection, David smiled. I didn't teach you that, Evie, you knew it, you just needed permission to use it. I looked back at the kids. Come on, I yelled to them. We're going to the pumpkin patch with Aunt Sarah. Yay, Leo shouted. Can I wear my superhero cape? In the past, I would have worried. What will Sarah think? Is a cape too weird? Will it ruin the photos now? Yes, I yelled back. Wear the cape, wear 2 capes. Leo cheered, I smiled. Let them judge. Let them stare, we were happy, we were together. And we were finally truly